When my stomach pain flared up, Sarah kicked me out of the car because I was interrupting her and her childhood friend's laughter. She ignored my pleas, slowly rolled up the car window, and said, "Annoying." When I was hospitalized with a perforated stomach ulcer, I called Sarah a dozen times, but she rejected every call instantly. Then I saw her in the hospital hallway, the familiar woman intimately leaning into a man's arms, waiting for a prenatal checkup. Sarah, who was certain she wanted to be child-free after dating for 8 years, looked at him with sweet eyes and said, "David, if you want this child, I'll definitely have it for you." Later, after I recovered and was discharged, I went alone to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain for 7 days. Sarah, who hadn't contacted me for over 10 days, called me frantically. "Ethan, did you forget to keep tabs on me?" After returning from Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, I answered Sarah's 39th call. "Ethan, your location shows you're not in the state. Where did you run off to?" The accusatory tone came through the phone. I didn't answer, my expression calm as I walked out of the airport. When Sarah came to pick me up, she immediately took my suitcase, her face cold with a hint of mockery. "I thought you were trying to run away from home like some drama queen. Didn't last long, did it?" Came crawling back looking like a mess after just a few days. "The wedding is in a few days, and I'm busy. I don't have time to worry about you. Just stay put and don't wander off." As she spoke, she skillfully pulled out a cigarette and lit it in the car interior. I couldn't help but frown and turned to open the car window. Cold wind rushed in. I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Let's go to the wedding design company." Counting the days, the wedding invitations should be ready. Sarah scoffed and sped towards the wedding design company. She refused to go inside, leaning against the entrance, smoking leisurely and occasionally scrolling through her phone, a knowing smile on her face. A staff member brought out the wedding invitations. "Ms. Jiang, your wedding invitations are ready." Sarah glanced over, her eyes falling on the garish red invitations. "So tacky. You're the only one who likes this bright red. There's no creativity at all." I didn't argue, just quietly counted the invitations, took out my phone, and paid the shop with my phone. Just as I was about to speak, Sarah's phone rang. Sarah answered without hesitation, an overly exaggerated, flirtatious voice coming through. "My little princess, it's time for my prenatal checkup again. If my little princess comes to pick me up, I'm all yours." Sarah hung up the phone, pulled her car keys from her pocket, and left me with a cold statement. "You can handle this by yourself. I have something else I need to go do." It wasn't even a question, just a notification. She was certain I would comply or accept it. She drove off without looking back. I looked up at the staff member. "I've paid for these invitations. You can throw them away directly. Please cancel all the other arrangements as well. We don't need any further design." The staff member was taken aback, looking troubled. "But sir, we're already halfway through the design. If you cancel, the deposit can't be refunded." "Don't worry about the refund." After leaving the shop, I suddenly remembered I should also cancel the wedding dress I'd bought at a high price. After canceling everything, I went into a diner, ordered a bowl of my favorite noodles, and started editing my social media feed. I had taken many beautiful photos at Jade Dragon Snow Mountain these past few days, all worth commemorating on my social media feed. I arranged them into a grid of photos and added 2 words, "Achieved." Many people liked the post, including David, Sarah's childhood friend. Soon after, one of his social media posts popped up. The picture was a focused side profile of Sarah. The caption, "Promise to spend our lives together thanks to my little princess for being willing to carry the child for him." Below it, a flood of 999 comments appeared. I casually liked it, then put down my phone and focused on eating my noodles. A few minutes later, my phone rang abruptly. It was Sarah. I casually rejected the call, but she was unusually persistent and called again, so I had to answer. "Ethan, did you go to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain by yourself?" Sarah's voice was low, still carrying a hint of anger. "Didn't we agree I would go with you after the wedding? Jade Dragon Snow Mountain is such a romantic place. Going alone, are you trying to make me look bad?" There was noise on the other end of the line, occasionally the sound of a nurse calling out a patient's name. Sarah must have been at the hospital. I said calmly, no particular reason, I just wanted to go, so I went. Hearing her flustered and angry now, I felt nothing inside. Dating for 8 years, I had suggested going to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain every year. It was my mother's dying wish. But every time, Sarah would refuse with various excuses. Ethan, I'm too busy right now. I'll go with you after I finish this. Something came up with my family. Let's go next year. No time. It got to the point where, by last year, she didn't even need excuses anymore. She could simply refuse, her annoyance unconcealed. And I was already tired of the endless waiting. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Without waiting for Sarah's reply, I decisively pressed the red hang-up button and felt a sense of relief. That evening, I was back at home, buried in my laptop in the study. Sarah suddenly threw a piece of clothing at my face. Ethan, can't you ever tidy up your things? Leaving worn clothes scattered everywhere. The cold embellishments were sharp enough to scratch my face, causing a stinging, pervasive pain. I picked it up from under the sofa. Get your own stuff organized and don't let it happen again. I glanced down at the sexy and flashy sexy flight attendant costume and said coldly, it's not mine. Sarah's face changed slightly, and she suddenly realized something, her expression becoming flustered. She quickly picked it up from the floor and hid it behind her back. David must have left it behind last time he stayed over. I'll give it back to him another day. I didn't say anything, returning my attention to my laptop. But Sarah looked apologetic and rummaged through the medicine box for an old, expired Band-Aid. She carefully sat next to me. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that just now. I didn't see there was something sharp on it. The smell of the Band-Aid made me feel nauseous. I moved away directly. It's nothing. Then I took my laptop and went back to the bedroom. Sarah stood rooted to the spot, staring blankly at my retreating figure for a long time. Ethan, why haven't you been keeping tabs on me lately? And I feel like something is different about you. You seem to be avoiding me. Sarah pushed the door open, the steam from her shower still lingering around her. She raised her hand to towel the water droplets from her hair, feigning casualness as she expressed her dissatisfaction. My hand paused. I suddenly remembered how, throughout our dating for 8 years, we talked on the phone almost every day. Even when busy, we never lost contact. I thought my daily life was intertwined with hers. But Sarah strongly resisted this, saying I was just checking up on her. Now, looking at our chat history, the last conversation was half a month ago. The relaxed distance we had now was exactly what Sarah wanted, yet she was complaining about it. I smiled. You're overthinking it. I've been a bit busy lately, I can't keep bothering you. Get some rest. With that, I closed my laptop, picked up a pillow, and walked towards the study. Although we had been together for 8 years, we had been separated for 6 months. I didn't like the smell of smoke, and Sarah quit smoking for me and kept it up for 3 years. But as soon as David came back, all that effort went up in smoke. David was her childhood friend, and the person she never truly got over, lodged in her heart. They slept in the same bed openly, claiming they had always done so since they were kids. When I was sick with a fever and needed her most, David could call Sarah away with a single phone call. At first, I was jealous and resentful. I hated my girlfriend for being so entangled with another man. But now, my heart felt calm. Even if the child in Sarah's belly was his, I didn't care anymore. After all, I had already decided to leave. Watching my resolute retreating figure, Sarah suddenly panicked. Ethan! She called out to me. I rinsed my mouth tonight, got rid of all the smoke smell. Can we sleep together tonight? Seeing my lack of reaction, Sarah got up and hugged me from behind. Ethan, we're getting married in half a month anyway. Haven't you always wanted a home? A home? My eyes welled up. Yes, I had wanted a home for these 8 years. Because my mother passed away early, I lacked a sense of security and belonging and desperately wanted to build a small family of my own with Sarah. But later I discovered that Sarah's life was destined to be chaotic, forever tied to David. If the rest of my life was also destined to be like this, then I would rather not have this home. I pushed Sarah's hand away with a blank expression. Let's talk about it later. Then I walked out of the bedroom and closed the door. I had written my resignation letter overnight and submitted it first thing in the morning. My boss called me into his office for a talk. He had taken care of me over the years, guiding me step by step up the ladder. He was puzzled when he heard I was leaving. Ethan, are you in some kind of trouble? Why do you have to resign? I smiled. I want to move to a different city. My boss was understanding and didn't ask further questions, quickly approving. My resignation. My colleagues, who I got along well with, were reluctant to see me go and wanted to grab dinner after work. When we got downstairs from the office, it was damp. It had started raining at some point. As I was waiting for a ride with my colleagues, someone suddenly called my name from behind. Ethan! A black Audi stopped not far away. Sarah slowly rolled down the window, her gaze falling on my wet hair, and she frowned. Get in. I came to pick you up. I didn't move. Soon, a light chuckle came from the passenger seat. Ethan, David chuckled, see? I told you Sarah loves you. She even came to pick you up in the rain. I'm practically jealous. Noticing my expressionless face as I looked at him, David smiled and explained, oh, I didn't have an umbrella today. I just came back from her prenatal checkup with her, and Sarah insisted on giving me a ride. You don't mind, right? I chuckled lightly. Not at all. I had no intention of getting in the car. Sarah waited for a while and grew impatient. Just as she was about to speak, my colleague's ride arrived. My colleague and I got into the car one after another. As the door closed, Sarah's voice came urgently. Ethan, I came specifically to pick you up. Where are you going? I replied calmly. I have something to do, and my colleague is heading the same way. I won't be going back for now. I then closed the car window, and the car drove away from her sight. While dining with colleagues at the spicy Tex-Mex restaurant, Sarah called me multiple times, which was bothersome. I silenced my phone, turned it face down, and continued chatting and laughing with my colleagues. After the meal, my colleague's wife came to pick him up. Ethan, how about I give you a ride home? I shook my head and smiled. No need, you two go on ahead. I stayed in the spicy Tex-Mex restaurant, continuing to eat the spicy food. When Sarah found me, she was completely drenched. She didn't have her tag-along behind her this time, looking lonely and pathetic. As soon as she entered, her eyes fell on the spicy dish, and she frowned. Ethan, you can't eat spicy food, can you? Eat less, or you'll get sick again. I didn't stop eating, lifting a chopsticks full of tripe to my mouth. It was so spicy it almost brought tears to my eyes, but I smiled. Dating for 8 years, Sarah still didn't know that I love spicy food the most. Because spicy food would cause her to get mouth sores, I had almost given up spicy Tex-Mex for her sake. I could only satisfy my craving for spicy food when going out alone or dining with colleagues. Besides, the one who got sick from spicy food was David. After finishing the spicy Tex-Mex, Sarah insisted on driving me home. The atmosphere in the car interior was heavy throughout the ride. Sarah seemed to be sulking, and I was too lazy to coax her. I put on my Bluetooth headphones and continued listening to my podcast. After some time, Sarah suddenly spoke. Ethan, I've been neglecting you these past few days because David can't have children, and I couldn't bear to see his family line end, so I agreed to carry the child for him. We grew up together, and our relationship is deeper than others. He's like a brother to me, and I can't help but care for him a bit more. As Sarah said this, her fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I could tell she was a bit nervous, especially when mentioning David. I remembered how, over our dating for 8 years, Sarah repeatedly emphasized that she wanted to be child-free after marriage to maintain her figure. I also remembered when I brought up future marriage and planning to have kids, asking about having a child, Sarah looked impatient. I don't want to have kids. I have no plans to have kids in this lifetime. Every time we were intimate, she would coldly supervise me to use protection. But when it came to David, even carrying the child for him became reasonable. The podcast happened to move to the next episode. I casually switched it and nodded. After all, your childhood friends. It's understandable to worry more about him. Sarah froze, looking at me in disbelief. You really don't mind? In the past, every time David was involved, we would argue endlessly, leading to unhappy endings. But now that my attitude was calm, Sarah seemed uncomfortable. I couldn't help but chuckle. Why would I mind? After all, I had already quit my job, and tomorrow I would sell the house under my name and leave the city completely. Everything here had nothing to do with me. Sarah wasn't important anymore. When we got home, Sarah handed me an exquisite gift box. Ethan, I've been neglecting you these past few days. After this busy period is over, I'll spend more time with you. Our wedding is in half a month. Have you thought about where you want to go for our honeymoon? Seeing that I didn't take it, Sarah opened the gift box herself. Inside was an old-fashioned watch. On the way here, I had casually scrolled through David's social media feed. My little princess, it's a gold watch, but it's so tacky. I wouldn't wear it even if you threw it away. But luckily, my little princess quickly bought me a watch I like to make up for it. The watch he called tacky was the very one Sarah had on her wrist. I didn't take the box, picked up a bath towel, and walked towards the bathroom. I'm too tired today. Let's talk about it another time. I lingered in the bathroom for an hour and a half. Sarah wasn't asleep yet. She was sitting on the balcony lounge chair talking on the phone. My little princess, you're pregnant now, remember not to smoke at all. A smile flashed in Sarah's eyes, and she deliberately put out her cigarette. I didn't pay any attention to her and turned back to go to bed. I was half asleep when I felt someone sitting by my bed, holding me from behind, softly calling my name and trying to kiss me. As soon as I smelled the smoke, I frowned, pushed the person away in annoyance, and turned over to continue sleeping. When I woke up the next day, Sarah had already gone to work. After breakfast, I met with a real estate agency to prepare to sell the house. This house we lived in was bought outright with 5 years of my savings. It was intended to be my premarital property. At the time, Sarah was broke and couldn't even afford rent. She later moved in with me directly. Her company had been doing better and better over the years, but she never suggested moving out. When I asked her, she would smile and say, "We've grown attached to this place, Ethan. Can we get married here too in the future?" I thought she had other uses for her money in managing her company. It wasn't until I discovered that when David returned to the country with nowhere to live, Sarah grandly bought him a villa by the sea. The price was more than 10 times that of this house. Since I was leaving, my house should be sold. The house was in a good location, and interested buyers contacted me quickly. That evening, I cooked a table full of dishes and waited for Sarah to come home. It was time to lay everything out and say goodbye properly, ending our 8-year relationship. But as soon as Sarah sat down and I was about to speak, her phone rang. "Sarah, my stomach hurts so much. Can you take me to the hospital?" Sarah instantly panicked, grabbed her coat, and ran out. David accidentally hit his head. It's a matter of life and death. I have to go see him. I froze for a moment, then gave a self-mocking smile. After that, I ate the meal alone, then had someone pack up all of Sarah's things and courier them to her office. Sarah didn't come home all night. David posted on social media late at night a photo of Sarah dozing off by his hospital bed. Thanks to my little princess, I didn't get a concussion, but he only had a band-aid on his forehead. I closed the app, blocked and deleted him. The next day, I quickly completed the transaction with the buyer, changed the locks, and left the city FO. Are good. 3 days later, Sarah accompanied David out of the hospital. On the way, she saw someone selling flowers and stopped instinctively, buying a large bouquet of bright red roses. David smiled and took them. "How did you know I like roses?" Sarah stepped back. "They're not for you." The smile on David's face froze. Sarah seemed to remember something, and a hint of tenderness flashed in her eyes. "They're for Ethan. He hasn't been causing trouble these past few days and has been very supportive. This is a little reward for him." But when she brought the flowers home, she couldn't open the door. Sarah frowned. "Ethan?" Soon, the door opened. Sarah smiled lightly, but the next second her smile froze. A stranger peered out, sizing her up. "Miss, who are you?" Sarah's face turned ugly. "I should be asking you who you are. This is my house. Where's Ethan?" She was about to push her way in but was blocked. "Hey! Why are you trespassing on private property? This is the house I just bought. Are you looking for the previous owner? He already sold the house, didn't you know?" Sarah was stunned. She looked up at the house she had lived in for 8 years, now completely redecorated. She felt completely lost. "No, how is this possible? I was living here just 3 or 4 days ago. This is my husband's and my home. We've lived here for 8 years. The person scoffed. "Miss, are you out of your mind? The previous owner of this property decided to leave, that's why he sold the house. I suggest you go find your husband." With that, the person pushed her out the door and slammed it shut. Sarah was completely bewildered and refused to accept it. "Ethan, what kind of game are you playing?" She took out her phone and quickly called me, but it kept saying the number was unreachable. She then opened her social media app and tried to send me a message, but it immediately showed a red exclamation mark. Sarah's face turned green. "He blocked me. Ethan, what the hell are you doing?" Only then did she realize something was seriously wrong. Sarah paced around anxiously, then suddenly remembered something and called my old workplace. "Hello? I'm Ethan's girlfriend. He blocked me, and I need to reach him. Please tell him to answer his phone." There was a long silence on the other end before a confused voice replied, "Ethan resigned last week. Didn't you know?" The bouquet in Sarah's hand clattered to the ground. The truth she had refused to believe slowly closed in on her, a cruel reality. "Ethan, he really left?" Sarah gripped her phone, veins bulging on the back of her hand. "No, it's impossible. We're getting married in less than half a month. How could he resign without telling me? We've been in this city for 10 years. If he left here, where would he go?" Sarah bombarded the air with questions, sounding like she was talking to herself. But the colleague sneered, "Girlfriend, huh? You didn't care about Ethan at all. If I had a girlfriend like you, I would have kicked her to the curb 8 years ago. Getting married? Ethan's been miserable because of all your crap. He's been down for ages, and you still have the nerve to talk? I'm blocking your number right now. I advise you not to call again, or I'll teach you a lesson every time I see you." The colleague quickly hung up, and no matter how many times Sarah called back, she couldn't get through. When the colleague messaged me about it, I had just landed and arrived in Willow Creek. Seeing the message, I smiled knowingly. Blocking is fine. Don't pay any attention to her. Then I turned off my phone and started my new life in Willow Creek. Soon, I settled down in Willow Creek, rented a nice house, and started living a slow-paced life, tending to flowers and growing vegetables. I no longer missed the days I spent with Sarah in the city. Nor did I care about romantic love anymore. The savings from the past 10 years were enough for me to live comfortably in retirement in this town. Without me in the way, Sarah didn't have to be secretive anymore and could be openly with David, her childhood friend. How wonderful. I just didn't expect Sarah to find me half a month later. When she appeared in the town area of Willow Creek, she looked very haggard. I was about to deliver some vegetables I had just grown to my elderly neighbor and intended to pretend I didn't see her. But unexpectedly, she suddenly rushed over, grabbing my hand, her eyes bloodshot. "Ethan, what do you mean by leaving without a word? You sold the house without telling me, and you canceled the wedding. Why did you do this?" I pulled my hand away from her and said calmly, "The house was mine. Selling it was my freedom. Besides, you're Ms. Jiang, the boss. Surely you can afford a house." I heard from her assistant that when I couriered all her personal belongings to her office, they piled up into a small mountain. People in the office were buzzing, saying Sarah had been kicked out by her husband. And Sarah's face was uglier than anyone's. At this moment, Sarah's face was deathly pale, chilling to look at. She stared at me intently. "We're about to get married. What does it mean for you to suddenly leave and cancel the wedding? I sighed softly. Sarah, we broke up. After David appeared, especially after Sarah agreed to carry the child for him without saying a word, I had brought up breaking up more than once. Unfortunately, Sarah was too arrogant back then, convinced I couldn't leave her. She just brushed it off as a joke. I remembered that time half a month ago when I had a stomach pain flare-up and begged Sarah to take me to the hospital. But Sarah ignored me. She was annoyed that I interrupted her conversation and laughter with David, coldly said annoying, and kicked me out of the car. It was hard to get a taxi late at night, and I endured the pain for a long time before an ambulance finally took me to the hospital. Later, when I was hospitalized, I called Sarah, wanting her to bring me a charger. She rejected all dozen calls instantly. Then I saw her in the hospital hallway, leaning happily against David, her face full of sweetness. David, if you're willing to have this child, I'll carry it for you. Perhaps it was at that moment that I completely gave up hope. That was the last time I suggested breaking up with her. After that, I traveled alone to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain for 7 days, but Sarah pretended not to see my breakup message and instead launched into accusations about where I had gone. Looking back now, it was truly absurd and laughable. Sarah, however, insisted that we hadn't broken up. She even announced me on her social media feed for the first time. My boyfriend and I are getting married in half a month. Welcome all friends and family to our wedding. I felt a mix of emotions seeing it. Dating for 8 years, I had suggested multiple times that she post my photos on her social media feed, at least so the people around her knew she had a boyfriend. Sarah always refused. It got to the point where, later, she would become impatient whenever I mentioned it. Ethan, aren't you childish? The people who know you're my boyfriend know it. There's no need to show off to people who don't. Everyone will know when we announce the marriage, right? After she finished yelling at me, I never brought up posting on social media again. This was further reinforced when I overheard her conversation with David. Ethan doesn't belong on my social media feed at all. If you hadn't gone abroad back then, why would I have ever agreed to date him? Now he's helped me too much. If I break up with him, people will call me ungrateful. David, if you're willing to come back to me, I could even not marry him. I didn't hear the rest of the conversation. I went home feeling absent-minded. I couldn't understand how the person I had shared a bed with for years, who had tenderly massaged my feet just a few days before, could say such old and hard words. But seeing someone's true colors is a good thing in the end. After that, I stopped having any expectations of Sarah. So when I sold the house and withdrew, I didn't feel much sadness and was able to quickly enter a new life. Now, seeing Sarah's social media post, I didn't comment. Instead, I opened the post page and announced my photo with my new girlfriend. Don't believe rumors. My ex and I have broken up. Please meet my girlfriend, Chloe. After posting that, my messages exploded. Many people offered their congratulations and sent their best wishes. More people were surprised. Ethan, you and Sarah dated for 8 years. We all witnessed your long-distance relationship. You were supposed to grow old together. How did it just end? I chuckled softly and replied, it's nothing. Sometimes the wrong relationships have to end for the right one to begin. Chloe and I were ice skating that day when a strange number requested to add me as a friend. I thought it was a customer from the flower shop, so I accepted. The person immediately sent a screenshot of a chat conversation. It was the conversation where I told my friend that Sarah and I were a bad match. A voice call came through quickly. Ethan, you're something else. Didn't you say you would love me forever? What, now that you have someone new, we're a bad match? Sarah was full of anger, seemingly wanting to vent at me. But I wasn't in the mood to humor her. Sorry, my girlfriend is calling me. I don't have time to chat. With that, I hung up. The words about loving her forever were based on the premise that she loved me too. Sarah might have forgotten that there was something else I said after that. Sarah, if you ever stop loving me, or if you fall for someone else, you must tell me. Let's part amicably. Don't you dare cheat or try to trick me. Otherwise, if I find out, I'll make you regret it. I met Chloe when I opened the flower shop. She was gentle, generous, sincere, and respectful. She was so much better than Sarah. At that time, although part of it was a distraction, I rarely thought about Sarah afterward. Only later did I realize that hanging onto one tree would make you miss the beautiful forest outside. You might even miss the tree that's right for you. Tired? Have some water. Chloe handed me a bottle of water and carefully supported me, afraid I might fall. We were chatting and laughing when a figure suddenly walked over aggressively and swung towards Chloe. I looked up in surprise, meeting Sarah's angry face. She suddenly rushed up and grabbed my arm, staring at Chloe with a mocking tone. Of all things you could be, you chose to be the other woman? Don't you know Ethan is my fiancé? We're getting married soon. Before Chloe could speak, I turned and shielded her behind me, unable to stop myself from retorting. Chloe is my girlfriend. You're pregnant and having a child with another man, so why are you pushing yourself forward and making a scene? You're just a heartless ex who was hooking up with other men while we were together, and you still have the nerve to call someone else the other woman? With that, I took Chloe's hand, our fingers intertwined. Sarah's face was pale, and she glared at me. Ethan, you. Just then, a man walked out from behind her and put his arms around her swollen belly. David spoke, feigning innocence. Ethan, Sarah just saw that I couldn't have children and couldn't bear to see my family line end, so she agreed to carry the child for me. Why are you so jealous and angry? I told you there's nothing going on between us. Ethan, if you minded so much, why didn't you tell me? If you had just said so, I would have definitely kept my distance. But you left for Willow Creek without a word, canceled the wedding, and even hooked up with another woman. Isn't that a slap in Sarah's face? I looked at the tour group behind him and couldn't help but scoff. You can't have children, and you're not staying praying for luck? You have to come out here and stir up trouble. Be careful, you might be too wicked to keep the child. Both of them turned pale with anger, but I let out a heavy sigh of relief. Seeing them again now, I felt nothing but disgust. I didn't want to be involved with them anymore. I turned to leave with Chloe, but Sarah suddenly grabbed my wrist again. Ethan! A hint of pleading appeared in her eyes. I know you're still angry with me. Is it because I'm too close to David? I told you, we're innocent. The child in my belly is just from IVF. Once I successfully give birth, I'll send David and the child abroad. Then no one will bother you. Ethan, come back with me. I couldn't take it anymore and forcefully pulled my hand away. Ms. Jiang, your relationship with others has nothing to do with me. Please stop being so delusional and bothering my girlfriend and me. She didn't know that on the very first day she arrived in Willow Creek with David and the tour group, David had already come looking for me. He smiled smugly and told me triumphantly, Ethan, thank you for making way for me and returning the child and Sarah to me. He said the child in her belly wasn't from IVF at all. It was conceived after they had slept together many times. And Sarah, my girlfriend at the time, had been very cooperative throughout. It turned out that back then, Sarah had always wanted to be with David. But David was a gold digger who had rejected her when she was poor. Now that she was rich, he came crawling back, saying he wanted to be the man behind the successful woman. I couldn't help but sneer. David, have some dignity. Don't make yourself so cheap and ruin men's reputation. That encounter truly disgusted me. Since moving to Willow Creek, I was increasingly grateful that I had made the decisive decision to leave. That way, I wouldn't be involved in such a mess. I had been living in Willow Creek for half a year and was getting more and more used to the pace of life. Chloe was by my side. When we wanted to work, we'd tend the shop. When we didn't, we could go sightseeing anytime. Chloe accompanied me to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain twice. On the summit of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, she leaned gently into my arms. Ethan, will you take care of me forever? I smiled and nodded. I always remembered what my mother told me when she was still alive. She'd seen a fortune teller who said my true destiny was at Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. But my home was very, very far from Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. I would need to grow up, become capable of earning money, before I could reach Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. I had planned to take my mother to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain with me one day so she could see my true destiny with her own eyes. Unfortunately, my mother passed away very early. Her dying wish was for me to visit Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. So for all these years, I had believed Sarah was my true destiny and wanted to go to Jade Dragon Snow Mountain with her. But unexpectedly, fate had come full circle, and it was determined from the beginning. We dated for 8 years, but Sarah could never find the time. And I gave up on her. I turned around, came to the foot of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, and met my real true destiny. I knelt down on the mountain summit, took out an exquisite diamond ring from my pocket, and said sincerely, "Chloe, marry me." Chloe's smile was bright and beautiful. She nodded excitedly, wrapped her arms around my waist, and leaned up to kiss me. On the day we got married, Sarah somehow heard the news and came running to stop me again, despite being heavily pregnant. In the past 6 months, Sarah had come to Willow Creek over 10 times, all to force me to go back with her. She said it didn't matter that I sold the house, she would buy me the best villa as our wedding home. She also said she had wronged me over the years and would compensate me little by little. She even pulled out a property deed and handed it to me with a sincere look. "Ethan, this is the best waterfront villa. Only your name is on it, and it's been notarized. Come back with me. Will you marry me? After being away from you for 6 months, I finally realized how important you are to me. I can't lose you. But I'm sorry. The past 6 months without you have been very good." I smiled and reached out to take it. Sarah's eyes lit up, thinking I agreed. But unexpectedly, I spoke slowly. "You're right. This villa should be your compensation to me. After all, I got nothing from being with you all these years, and I lost a lot. Let's just consider it compensation for our breakup. After all, I didn't ask for a single share when Sarah started her company. This villa is worth millions. It's what I deserve." The day Chloe and I got married, I officially announced it on my social media feed, and friends and family sent their congratulations. Sarah had already been blocked and deleted by me, but somehow she saw it. She came looking for me in Willow Creek again. In just 1 month, I don't know what she had been through, but she looked like she had aged 10 years. Her previously swollen abdomen was flat again. She stood in the cold wind, coughing uncontrollably. When she saw me, she still stepped forward excitedly. "Ethan, don't go yet. I just want to ask you one question. If it hadn't been for David, would you still have left me? Or would you have married me, and none of this would have happened?" I thought for a moment. Perhaps, perhaps not. But there are no ifs in life. Regardless, David appeared, and he was very important to you. Perhaps I should thank David. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have seen your true colors. After saying that, I took Chloe and left together. Sarah stood there for a long, long time until she became a tiny black dot in the distance and completely disappeared. I heard about Sarah again 3 months later. I heard that when I last saw her, Sarah had already been diagnosed with lung cancer. Due to long-term smoking, a large part of her lungs was already blackened. After the diagnosis, David abandoned her, calling her a terminally ill person, and emptied out all the money from her company. As for the child in her belly, a rich sugar mommy who supposedly supported David showed up and had thugs beat her until she miscarried. She knew she didn't have much time left, and the last time she came to see me was probably her final visit. Sarah finally saw David's true colors after learning that he had been deceiving her all along and was involved with a rich sugar mommy behind her back. She took back the villa under his name and all his privileges. In retaliation, David actually replaced her medication with sleeping pills. Sarah had a cancer recurrence and died that night because she didn't receive timely treatment. David was arrested and jailed for changing her medication and causing harm. Learning all this now, I only feel that it was absurd and regrettable, but it has nothing to do with me anymore. Chloe and I had a grand wedding in Willow Creek, and friends and family came to congratulate us and wish us to grow old together. After the wedding was complete, I took Chloe to my mother's cemetery. "Mom, I listened to you and met my true destiny at Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. She's my wife, Chloe." As soon as I finished speaking, a cool breeze blew through, and the wild grass on the grave swayed cheerfully. I smiled. "Mom, you heard me, didn't you? You like Chloe too, right?" The cool breeze lingered. It turned out that a long, long time ago, my mother had already told me who my true destiny was. Chloe and I held hands, our fingers intertwined. Don't worry, Mom. We will be very happy from now on. End.